This short video is about professionalism and PBL. It covers three main areas. Firstly, what is PBL? Secondly, what is professionalism? And thirdly, how to contribute professionally to your PBL group. So firstly, what is PBL? Well, PBL stands for Problem-Based Learning, and it's a particular way of teaching law that is unique to York Law School. Students are placed in so-called law firms. They're student groups, but they're called law firms. They work together as a team to tackle realistic case scenarios, identify key legal principles, and develop associated professional skills. PBL can be very rewarding, but it can also be quite challenging at times, and having a professional attitude helps things run smoothly. So firstly, what is professionalism? Well, it means different things in different contexts, but we've defined it within York Law School's values, which you'll be able to see in the student handbooks, and you'll also be able to see them around the walls of the PBL area. And I'm going to outline some of the key elements of professionalism we think are important at York Law School. So the first is integrity, and that means behaving honestly and in an ethical way at all times. The second is responsibility, and that means taking responsibility for not only your own behaviour, but also how effectively your group is running. And if you think it could be improved upon, or if other students think it could be improved upon, it's really important that you get involved in working out how to make your group work more effectively. Keeping boundaries is really important. Boundaries between one another in all our lives is really important. And in terms of PBL, it's really important to remember that you're not just hanging out with friends. It may be that you like a lot of people in your PBL group, but not probably everyone. But it's also important to remember that you're in a situation that's more akin to a workplace meeting than it is to a leisure activity. And if you have friends in your PBL group, it's really important that you maintain professional boundaries with them as well, even if they are your friends and you may be more relaxed with one another outside of your PBL group. It's really important to treat everyone with trust and respect in your PBL group, whether you like them or not. And it's important to check if you do have friends or you do develop friendships in your PBL group, that you're treating everybody equally well, both those people who are your friends and those people who aren't your friends. Collaborative learning is key to PBL groups, so it's really important that you find efficient and effective ways to learn together and to support one another in each other's learning. Respecting diversity. So you will encounter lots of people from different backgrounds than your own, and it's really important not to judge anyone for that, and in fact to be recognise that your lives will be enriched through that, and to really get to know people from those diverse backgrounds and make sure that you meet them as individuals rather than any kind of stereotypes that you might have about them or the groups to which they might belong. And this is linked with not discriminating. We don't tolerate any negative language or attitudes towards people based on their identities. And that's not just within the PBL group, but that's also outside of the PBL group and in any kind of social media communications. Respecting gender equality is particularly important. In many parts of the world now, it's well recognised that women and men and people of all genders are equal. Not in all parts of the world. And if you come from a society or a culture that perhaps doesn't have that view, it's going to be really important for you to review your beliefs in order for you to be able to work effectively in a PBL group where there is a very clear expectation that people of all genders are treated equally. It's also important to respect learning diversity. Not everybody learns in the same ways. Some people learn visually, some people learn through listening, some people learn through writing things down, and some people learn through doing things. And people learn at different paces. So not everybody will get everything in the same way as you do at the same pace that you do. And it's really important that you don't judge each other, you don't compare yourselves with other people, that you just work at your own pace and you know what works for you. And that you also respect that for other people, that they're working at their own pace as well. And sometimes people need to go away from the PBL group to reflect before they make all the sense that they can of what has been discussed in the group. So you need to be mindful as well of that and give people time to reflect and build their learning that way. It's also important to respect all disabilities. Some students in your PBL group will have visible disabilities, disabilities you can see, but some will have invisible disabilities, such as dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, people being on the autistic spectrum, um, people who may have anxiety or depression or other mental health issues, people who may have been bereaved. There are many things going on in people's lives that may impact their ability to function in the group, either on an ongoing basis or on a short to medium term basis. And there are things you won't be able to see. So if somebody's not performing in your group in the way that you would expect them to, A, you might want to check your expectations, and B, you need to be mindful that you don't know what's going on in their lives. And the most important thing is to resolve conflict positively. Groups are challenging, and there's always going to be conflict. That's part and parcel of groups. And law is a very exciting topic, an interesting topic to talk about, and it often generates differing points of view, and that's wonderful. That's to be celebrated. We want to encourage you to engage in discussion and debate, but make sure you do it in a constructive way. If you disagree with someone, disagree with their idea, not with the person themselves. That's a really important thing, to not personalize an argument and debate. You can dislike something that somebody says, but that doesn't mean you have to dislike them. So, what does this mean in terms of contributing to PBL? Well, first of all, you're going to hear this contributions word quite a lot because we assess contributions in PBL and in some other modules as well. And some people think that contributions are, you have to be kind of speak a lot and speak loudly to get yourself noticed and dominate a group, and that's your way of making a top contribution. Whereas actually, it doesn't always involve that, and in fact may involve the opposite of that at times. One of the most important contributions you can make is to give space to other people as well as your own voice. And active listening is important as well. And that means listening attentively, showing you're listening, like nodding or smiling or giving encouraging indicators, and reflecting, responding afterwards. That means making some kind of comment or some observation about what somebody has said, to show that you've actually been paying attention to them and you've been thinking about what they've been saying, and also to make connections between what people in your group have been saying. So you can sort of say to somebody, "Oh, that's really interesting," and that links in with what so and so said earlier on, doesn't it? And it can be these little, relatively small comments that can be a really important contribution to making a group work well. And those things are as important as spending lots of time talking yourself in the group. And making a positive contribution also includes asking questions and seeking clarification. There is no such thing as a stupid question, and you can be absolutely sure that if you ask a question, there'll be somebody else in your group, or more than one person, who's very glad you've asked a question because they wanted to ask it themselves. So that could be something like, I just don't understand. What does this mean? Can somebody explain this some more, please? Or, I kind of get it, but I'm just not sure about the distinction between these two things. And that can prompt really useful discussion and debate. The students who do know those things get the opportunity to explain them. And it won't be the same students all the time. And the students that don't fully understand those things will be really grateful that the conversation's happening so that they can learn and grow. Ultimately, instead of asking yourself, how can I show myself off best in my group? Ask yourself, how can I help our group to work most effectively? So, to sum up, be professional, work together as a team, treat each other with respect, and be kind to one another. I hope you have a great time in PBL.